What's up, guys? Mike here, Maximum Results Fitness, and just got done listening to an entire podcast with AJ Mirzad and Vince Del Monte, and it just makes me realize I probably should have been doing these videos for the last 10, 11, 12 years since I've been having these thoughts in my mind. When I started Maximum Results back in 2008, I actually started Maximum Results a couple days after I found out I had my first child on the way. I was working at a gym. I was working my ass off, building programs, running boot camps, doing amazing workouts that I still remember, like, people asking me where I came up with all these workouts and these awesome, like, programs and crazy different ideas that made my workouts fun, but also got results. And I was working at this gym, and I was getting literally pennies on the dollar for all of my work, but I worked at a gym, and that's kind of how gyms worked anyway. But I didn't really know what else to do back then. We're talking 2008, 2007 to 2008, and things weren't as big then as they are now. Facebook and Instagram and podcasts and YouTube and all that stuff. So I just continued to work at the gym until I found out I had a child on the way, and I said, you know what, I got to do something bigger. I got to do something better. I got to do something that's going to, help my family. So I started Maximum Results Fitness and started doing boot camps outside in South Carolina. And, my initials are MR, so I named my business Maximum Results to match my initials because I had MR tattooed on my arm. MR in the Superman logo. So I said, you know what, I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna cross it over, and we're gonna do it. And then I came up with a motto, and our slogan was no excuses. Now we're talking back in 2008, no excuses. All right, 10 years ago, and that was because of everything that I had learned from training clients. It was no excuses. And I used to always start or end my boot camp class with like a little bit of a speech, a little bit of motivation, a little bit of accountability, a little bit of responsibility, a little bit of, little ass kicking. And I would give them these little talks about no excuses. And I'd give them tips, and I'd give them encouragement, and I would also curse at them and fucking tell them no excuses, and I'd yell at them about everything that you do that makes you not come to class is an excuse. And it's been my thing, and I should have done these videos back then, because I just got done with this podcast and listening to this podcast, and it makes me realize that my train of thought, because at some point from no excuses in boot camp till about, in 2008, I was 26 years old. When I was 30 is when I really wanted to up my game in the fitness industry. Like, I wanted to be the guy that everyone comes to. I wanted to be the guy. I knew that I wanted to start to be the guy. Does that make sense? Right? So I knew that it wasn't going to happen overnight, but I knew that when I was 30, so that's 2012, I knew that I had to start working my ass off to be the guy. But I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I just knew that I had to do something. And I tried everything, okay? But the motto, no excuses, went from just the boot camp and working out to everything in my life. Everything. I kept making excuses in my life of why I wasn't doing these certain things, or why I wasn't here, or why I wasn't there. And I made, and then I would start doing well in some things, and I got comfortable, right? So a lot of these things in this podcast that I just listened to made me realize that when I carried it over into my life is when things started to change for me. And now granted, I'm not near where I even want to be, or where I should be, or where I can be. I'm not even close to it. I just know that I'm not giving up. But the funny thing was Vince Del Monte was talking, and he said something about how as an entrepreneur you have this thinking, this always forward thinking. And I'm driving right now, and to me, I know that it takes 2 hours and 15 minutes to get from where I was to where I gotta be. But I'm trying to get there. I'm foot's on the gas, I'm doing 81. It's not really gonna get me there any faster, but my goal is to go forward as best and fast as I can without getting pulled over. And it kind of made me think like that. Like, I'm always trying to pass people. I'm always trying to get in front of people. I'm always trying to get to where I'm going. And he said kind of the same thing. He said in his 20s, he couldn't keep a relationship because every single time that he would sit down and have dinner with like a girl, he would always ask them about their goals or their drive, and he would always talk about his goals and his visions and his drive and his future and all these things. And the woman would just always be like, well, why can't we just talk about now? Why can't we just live in the moment? And he realized, like, he can't. He's not gonna. He doesn't want to. That's comfort. And that really listening to that, like, made me feel a lot better about myself, because I'm that way. I'm driving that way right now. There's no cars in front of me right now. There's a truck way up there. There's a car behind me back there. I'm doing 79, and I'm just going because this is where I want to go. So then he started saying something. Him and AJ said this thing. He said, dysfunctionally comfortable. And this is something I've always used in my podcast, in my talks to my people. I've had these like conversations with some really close clients of mine about how a lot of times people make these excuses up in their life, or they rely on these excuses in their life to become dysfunctionally comfortable. Now, I could never give it a name. This whole time, I've been having this thought in my mind about these things that people do, that they always want to have something that holds them back, so they don't have to get into the next level. So it keeps them dysfunctionally comfortable. And I'm so fucking glad that I can actually give it a name now. You know, and I've had this conversation with probably 50 clients of mine over the past 5, 6, 7, 10 years about what humans do, what differentiates the average from the above average. The average relies on this dysfunctional comfort, right? Because they're afraid to get out of their comfort zone. They're afraid to get out of the box. So what they do is they use these pre-existing excuses to hold them back. Even if even if they no longer exist, right? So I had this one client in my boot camp, right? And this person knows who she is, but this person started at the end of the pack in boot camp, right? We'll go simple numbers, okay? We'll call it I had 30 boot campers. We had about 10, the back 10, you had the middle 10, and then you had the front 10, right? So the back 10 were the really out of shape people, the people who are there who needed it the most, and those are the ones that would, whatever. I don't care who they were. They were there for the right reason. All right. This podcast is not about that. All right. Then you had the middle average people, right? The people who, gave me 100% most of the time, but gave me really like 90%. And, they slowed down when they got tired, but then they took a little break and they sipped some water and then they jump back in and kick some ass, right? And then you have the front 10. All right. Those are the people who fucking went 110% the whole time and showed up every time. And those are actually the people who needed to be there the least. Now, granted, they needed to be there because they wanted to be pushed. Okay. Those are also the people who showed up every single fucking time. Okay. The people so I had this girl. I would say she was in the front part of the last pack, and she really wanted these goals. Okay. So she's putting in work. I'm yelling at her. I'm on her ass the whole time in boot camp, and I got her into the back part of the middle pack, and she's kicking ass. She's doing great. Her mile time's going down. She's doing awesome. She's doing some extra stuff in the gym now. Now she's like midway through the middle pack. Now she's front of the middle pack. And she's doing great, right? Now, we all hit plateaus, okay? We all do the things that, self-sabotage a little bit, where you hit a plateau and you miss a class, or you go away for a week or whatever it is, okay? So she's stuck at the front part of the middle pack for a while. Now, mind you, all the people in the front pack are showing up every single day, putting in 100%, kicking ass, doing their thing. So that front pack is continually growing. So this girl gets really comfortable at the front part of the middle pack. She's the leader of the middle pack. And she's got goals because she wants to get down under a certain weight. She wants to get under 140 for the first time since high school, right? So I get a text message one morning with feet on a scale that says 139.4. I fucking did it, Mike. I fucking did it. Oh my God, I'm so happy, blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. Congrats. Let's keep fucking going. But what now? Now she's so comfortable being the leader of the middle pack. What is the next step? The next level. The next level is to be in the back part of the front pack. And she's so comfortable in being a leader. She's finishing first in this middle pack. How can I start over and be last in the front pack? I don't want to be last again, you know what I mean? This is where, and this is the story that I was never able to give it a name, but this is that dysfunctional comfort. So then it turns into self-sabotage. And no, I don't want to jump up into that new level. And another thing they said in this podcast is new levels bring new devils, right? That's all here, right? It never gets easier. It just gets different, is what they're saying, right? It never gets easier. It just gets different. New levels bring new devils, and that's what jumping up to the back part of that front pack would have done. It would have brought her up to a new level, and she didn't want to start at the end again. She started at the end already and worked her way up. Why does she have to do it again? So I'm not doing that. So I'm gonna back it off a little bit, and I'm gonna coast. I'm gonna stay comfortable back in the middle pack. Dysfunctional comfort is what that's called. And we all do it. We all do it in our life, but the important thing is to notice it. Okay? Now, whenever I listen to these podcasts from these amazing people that are where I want to be, Vince Del Monte, AJ Mirzad, another person they said in that podcast was something that I haven't heard in years is Chris McCombs. Is somebody I've been following for 10 years. All right? Nobody said the name Chris McCombs on any of the podcasts that I've been listening to for the last 3 or 4 years. Chris McCombs was a beast. Grant Cardone, Andy Frisella, Gary Vaynerchuk, all those guys. And if you become aware of it, which is what I do, then you can stop doing it. You can learn how to not do it. You can learn how to stop making excuses, which is really what it comes down to. All right? You can give it any name that you want, but I like to just give it one fucking name, and that's an excuse. All right? And I've said this time and time again. And I've even said it to that girl. Okay? Even though eventually she stopped doing boot camp. But even though the thing is real, okay? So say, let's just go, for instance, like, say you have to bring your kid to soccer camp on Wednesday and miss boot camp class. I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm just saying it's an excuse. I'm not saying the thing is not real. I'm just saying it's an excuse. You know what I mean? So think of the word, like when your mom writes you a letter because you have a doctor's appointment and you have to miss, half a class of school, half a day of school. Please excuse my daughter, she has a doctor's appointment at 12. It's still an excuse. The thing is you made a choice of doing that over that. That's what it is. And when you start choosing A over B, A being the real life thing, and B being the thing that you should be getting done, or your workout, or writing that email, or whatever it is, that's when the habits start forming, and that's when the excuses start taking over, and the excuses start winning, and that's when the problems start happening. Sorry, I was being blocked on the road. A big thing that they talked about in this podcast was habits. And I could probably listen to that podcast once a day. That's how good it was. And he kind of goes on. Vince is pretty funny because he tries not to talk negative about certain things and the industry and people and certain trainers or people that he's sat next to in masterminds, and you can tell he's trying to hold back, but there's some people that he has seen, and same with AJ, that they've seen, because they've had long careers, 15 to 20 years of being in the industry and growing. And they try not to, but, AJ said, he's like, dude, I've seen so many people come and go. And Vince said, you don't want to be the person in the mastermind saying that you want to build your business, and you want to do this and you want to do that, and you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and 6 months later you're gone, you flake, and you don't want to be the guy who didn't put in the work, even though you said that you were going to put in the work. And you're not going to fool these guys. You're not going to fool these people that think on this level. And that's why I was kind of happy to hear Vince say some of these things and AJ say some of these things about the way entrepreneurs, these types of people think, and the way that a mind works when your mind is like this. You think in a certain way, and not that you can judge people, because you just can't, because he even said that in the podcast. He's like, sometimes this little dude, this little nobody is crushing it, and you get these good looking muscular dudes that can't sell a goddamn thing and can't get their business off the ground, but this other dude is, because you're just not going to judge people like that. But after a certain amount of time, and he says it in the podcast, if you keep talking about building your business and you're still in the same place for 6 years, then you're not doing it. And that's you can't deny that. You can pretend that you're putting in the work, but the actions will really show that you're not. So, and Vince said a couple things about you don't want to be, and he didn't want to be known as the guy who got lazy and got comfortable. And it's pretty funny. They kind of go back and forth, and AJ says something about, you don't want to, I don't want to hear that about Vince. And he said it's hard to hear about Vince, not updating his website, and not, I don't see him on YouTube anymore. And Vince got all worried. He's like, wait, are they saying that? And AJ was like, no, it's just a hypothetical. He was like, okay, good. And that's because he's putting in the work. But if you're not putting in the work, don't expect shit to happen. It's that simple. So with that being said, it's go time. No excuses.